We now have Srimati Manohari Reddy, a dear friend and an avid reader, and has lived in Portland for the past 23 years. She is happiest when she is hiking with her daughter and husband in one of the Portland's beautiful parks. Her second favorite thing is to check out the various pizza places that seem to spring up in Portland metropolitan area every week. Lately, the beautiful cities of Europe have been calling her, and she is determined to answer that call. She is currently pursuing a master's in wine. With that, I'd like to invite Srimati Manohari Reddy.
The speakers before me, they've set such a high bar, I can't cross it. And I'm not even going to try, so I'll do my best. So I'd like to thank Lalitha Ram for giving me this opportunity to speak. And given the caliber of speakers that are there, I don't know what I'm doing here, but I'll speak to the book. So I have known Lalitha Ram as Revati for the past more than 20 years. And at the beginning, I was impressed by her command of Telugu language. I said, wow, we don't see many people like that over here. And then I found out that she's a granddaughter of Devlapalli Krishna Shastri Garu, one of the most revered poet of the Telugu language. And then I said, aha, that makes sense. So she probably, absorbed the language through osmosis. And then she gave me her book to read, Megha, Two Worlds Within. And I was blown away by her command of the English language. And I didn't think that somebody could be this deeply bilingual. I'm not. So that was amazing. And then when she asked me to read her book and say a few words, I hesitated, because my favorite genre is books such as Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, Kite Runner, books that delve into the depths of evil in human nature. Some redeeming aspects, but it's mostly gore and lots of dead bodies. And Megha, on the surface, it looked like a chicklet. And I'm not one of those readers of chicklet. And then I started reading, and I'll admit there are some corny passages in there. So you guys, as you read it, you'll think, is this a book or a movie or, yeah. But then, Megha touches on so many aspects and dualities of human condition that it's much more than a chicklet. She is fiercely independent, and yet she conforms to traditional values such as respect for elders, loyalty to family and friends. Her husband is a Western capitalist, but her views seem to be very anti-Ayn Rand. So I don't know if anybody of you have read Ayn Rand. Her views are distinctly very anti-Ayn Rand. And perhaps we should listen to her more. When you look at the stark inequalities that are in our world these days, perhaps we need views from people like her. Megha lives in a deeply materialistic culture, yet she doesn't seem to care much for money since she gives away all her savings. And Lalitha Ram, she has an MBA degree and she brings it to bear in her book when she talks about economics. Yet it is into her insight into human nature that I think that it makes this book a worthwhile read. She doesn't offer easy and neat solutions. So for example, when we meet Navaj at the beginning of the book, we come to know he's gay. Yet towards the end of the book, he's married to a woman. He is deeply critical of society, yet did he conform to society by marrying a woman? One has to wonder which is the more courageous thing to do. Is it to go against societal pressures? Or is it to live suppressing one's realities? And I think the book's strength lies in the fact that it does not say which one. It's up to you, the reader, to pick which one, whether you choose to pick or not. And then there is Gavin. As a child, he's cold, very methodical, almost devoid of human feelings, and he seems to fall somewhere on the autistic spectrum. But through the power of maternal love and a role model in Sienna, his brother's friend, he grows into this caring, thinking young adult. He wants to make the world a better place. So I think here there's a powerful message for people dealing with mental health issues, that through love, those can be, if not conquered, they can be mitigated. And I think that's a deeply powerful statement. And then as you go through the book, there are a couple of empowered women in places one would least expect. Two women who are so confident that they don't even think about their status in society when they initiate sexual contact with their master's grandson. So these women are among the lowest people in the society, yet they initiate sexual contact with their master's grandson. And I think this is a beautiful moment in the book where all that seems to matter is biology, which is accessible to everybody. To me, Megha represents the inner conflict that all immigrants feel at some point in their lives, at least the immigrants who live and examine life. Are we abandoning our birth country after receiving so many benefits from her? And this is a complicated question. Most people feel that they're doing more good by moving abroad and leading successful lives. And perhaps they're right, especially when we think of the valuable perspective we gain by moving to a different culture. I think you all agree. Lalitha Ram seems to be saying that borders between nations are artificial human constructs anyway, and in the end, it is what we do that matters. Case in point is when Megha gives away her savings 2 times to the book. Once when she's growing up in India, and later in her adult life when she's living in the US. And both times, it's not relevant where she lives, but it's what she does that is relevant. So Megha also learns a lot about character from her husband, who seems to live life effortlessly, while she's constantly worried about her kids and family. And maybe this is a gift that most men possess, which I think we all agree, right? But I think it's a good evolution as programmed women to be worrying that way. So, Megha ultimately is a life-affirming character in the book, I think. And I see a lot of Revati in her. So you might, as you read the book, you might, may or may not come to that conclusion. So when I read a book, at the end of the book, I think, in this, we only have this many years, and I wasted some of my time on this book. Was it worth a read, right? Did I learn anything? From this book, I don't think I learned anything that I didn't already know. At some level, I knew most of what she's trying to say. And that is the strength of the book. Because it doesn't advocate anything, it just states the way things are. And to me, the best attribute of a well-written book is to hold mirror to society. It just shows us its ugly warts as well as serene beauty, and it doesn't advocate. It's up to the reader to learn what they may. In the end, I would like to say that Revati has inspired me to want to step out of my comfort zone and do something different, to become a producer of culture and not just a consumer. Maybe I'll take up writing too. I'm just kidding. Thank you all for listening to my rambling. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Manu. That was very inspiring. I would like to now invite Mr. Scott Stein. Scott is a native of Portland and is an accomplished writer from Oregon. He writes science fiction. His novel is called The Omega and received very good reviews about the book. Please, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. Scott Stein.
Hi. As she said, my name is Scott Stein. I like to write under the pen name Scott W. Stein. I've known Revati since 3 o'clock today. She's been so gracious to invite me just based on hearing about me to come talk at her book, and I appreciate her doing that, and I'm really happy to be here and do this. This is really fun. And I second a lot of the things that she just said. When I first was looking at the book, I thought, oh, is this a romance novel I'm about to read here? Is this? But like she said, you start to read it and you think, okay, I see where this is going. I see what she's. Then two chapters later, you're like, no, I didn't see that coming. I guess I don't see where this is going. Raven, you definitely have a voice. That's something someone told me one time after reading my book. They said, you have a voice, which is all about style, which is what I'm all about when I read, is that somebody has a style. And Megha is definitely written with a very particular style that I really warmed up to by the second, third chapter. You get a feel for the flow, and I really, really enjoyed that. She asked me to talk about my book for some reason. And so I'll do that, but first I'm going to talk just about my experience writing my book. For me, writing isn't a lifestyle. It's something I do as a hobby and a passion. And I grew up being an avid reader and enjoying getting lost in a story and an adventure and in a character. And then as I got older, I thought, at some point, I do want to write one of these things. I know I can do it. I got it in me, I can do this. And I spent a lot of years in the finance industry, specifically mortgages. And I was dabbling in writing, I was taking notes. I had attempted a few short stories back in my 20s when I had more time, before I had a family and kids and everything. So I pulled out one of my old stories and I thought, this is really a full novel if I really flesh this out. And then 2008 happened to the whole mortgage industry. And I thought, I'm going to go ahead and take a few months off, because that's probably going to happen not by my choice anyway. And so I had a meeting with the family, and I said, okay, here's what's going to happen. You're going to see me not work for a little while. I want you to not freak out. And I want you to not keep asking my wife, what is he doing? What is he doing? And you'll just see me at the coffee shop. You can stop by and say hi, but I'm going to be working on something. And so for a few months, I just sat down and worked on this thing. I wrote it all by hand, rewrote it by hand, and typed it over again. And after a while, I had a 500-page novel that I began sending to publishing houses and things like that. And finally, I began to realize about the state of things. The publishing industry hit a turn lately with a number of things. One being Amazon. Amazon has kind of changed everything in the publishing world. And then on top of that, the ebook, the phenomenon of the ebook. And I'm all about this new revolution. So if you're interested, I have cards rather than an actual book. You can use a card as a reference. You can buy it. It's really cheap on Amazon for the ebook. So I wrote it and put it on Amazon, and people started reading it, and they liked it, and started reviewing it. And it hasn't made me a lot of money, but it's been just fun, and I feel successful about it. And again, I thank you for letting me talk about it here. The story is, it's really a horror, fantasy, adventure, but it's more literary than that. It's more theme-oriented than that. But that's where it would fall in. I mean, it's about people fighting supernatural monsters and dealing with themes of good and evil within and without. And it has a lot of gore in it, so it fits right in with Megha. I'm sure it'll tie right in well together. I'm definitely going to give you a card, because I think it seems like something you'll like. When I had finished this and I was getting my beta readers together and saying, I need you guys to read this because I need to get this right. And I gave it to dozens of people. I had a dozen people read it, proofread it, give back to me, redlined, and I handed a little thumb drive, 'cause it was on a thumb drive, to a friend of mine, and he said, Scott, even if this completely sucks, you've really done something here by just writing a book. So I have a special understanding, I think, of Revate's endeavor in sitting down and writing multiple books now. That you've really done something here, and I'm glad you invited me. I appreciate you inviting me to come and be a part of this, and thank you for listening, and this is really fun.